Okay, so this is another one I'm doing in my car, which is fun. That might annoy me if it's skew. Okay, so this was an interesting story. I find this really funny. So basically, I skipped 2 meals yesterday, and then I think I mentioned it in an earlier video. I've been doing my workouts in the morning before I eat anything. Um, which for the most part has been really good. But the fact that I skipped 2 meals yesterday kind of fucked that up really, really bad. So I got about, it wasn't even like 3 minutes into my workout, and it was jogging, and I was just completely gassed out from just 3 minutes, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is too, like, it's just not worth it, if that makes sense. It was too difficult being that exhausted from only 3 minutes. Like, typically I would not be that gassed out from only 3 minutes jogging, but skipping 2 meals and being on an empty stomach really that was main that really did mess it up. So I did something different instead. So instead of jogging, I got 220s, carried one in each hand, and carried them with me while I was walking. And that was more manageable. I at least got a good 6 minute walk after that. But one thing I did notice was into the walk, I was my right shoulder started hurting, and it's like at first I ignored it. It was fine. I just wanted to finish at that point because I already had to stop jogging. So I was like, oh no, I'll just ignore it. I'll finish. So fast forward to nearly the end. My shoulders started hurting. Like like most people that work out knows the difference between good pain and bad pain. This was definitely bad pain. This did not feel good at all. So I put the weights down, continued to walk as normal, and at that point I didn't really think anything about it until I had to put the weights back, and because as soon as I put the weights down, my shoulder felt a bit sore but fine. When I went to put the weights back, that's when I realized, oh wow, I fucked up my shoulder. It's not that bad. I'll probably be okay tomorrow as long as I don't do any arm exercises tomorrow or shoulder exercises tomorrow. But that was interesting. I don't know what I did to my shoulder. Maybe it was just I tweaked it in a bad way. Maybe I was carrying the weight wrong. But it should have been fine, but it wasn't. I don't know. So that goes on to the topic today of perceived difficulty. This is incredibly important when prescribing exercise. Um, so basically, this perceived difficulty can be as simple as a scale of between 1 and 10. I got. Let's see if that helps me. Scale between 1 and 10. This is really important for exercise prescription because even if an exercise is within a person's VO2 max, like the walking with the weights was for me, the fact that it was physically hurting made the perceived difficulty much, much higher than it would have been otherwise. Same thing with why I couldn't jog earlier for longer than 3 minutes, because again, it was within my VO2 max at a normal state, but at an unfed state, and the fact that I missed 2 meals yesterday, the perceived difficulty was much, much higher. And so you can really what's the word I'm looking for? You can really play with the perceived difficulty. Some people there we go. Some people want to be in this range. They want to be at a challenge range. Very, very rarely someone wants to be at a 10, which is I would consider harmful to the person. Very, very rarely people want to go all the way to a 10. But most people want to be at that 7 to 9 range where it is a very challenging workout. And that's fine for most people who are experienced working out and want to be in that zone. But if someone just starts out working out, like the first week, second week, maybe even the first month, more often than not, they do not want to be in that 7 to 9 range. That is discouraging to them, and that makes them not want to continue. So when someone's first starting out, you can start them in this 1 to 3 range where it's relatively easy for them. And relatively easy, it might mean it's with perceived difficulty is completely not related to VO2 max. For instance, if someone just has to do sprints, walk, then sprint, that can be challenging for them. That can be extremely challenging, going from sprinting to walking, sprinting to walking. However, because of, let's say they only have to sprint for 5 seconds, it can be well within the VO2 max because of such a short sprint and a longer walk, say 30 seconds in between each sprint. But for them, that can be incredibly challenging, or that could be incredibly easy. It depends on the person. Just because, and that's why it really does matter about perceived difficulty. So I would say in general, I want to be right in this range between a 6 and a 7, because I prefer, what I typically do is for any kind of aerobic exercise, I go to not exactly failure, but as close as failure as I can reasonably make it. Because I don't want to, like, jog 3, 4, 5 miles in one day and not be able to jog 2 miles the next day. I don't like limiting myself that heavily, because I like being able to work out any other day of the week I can, because my schedule changes around a lot. So typically what I would do is, at least for aerobic, sometimes for anaerobic exercise too, it depends. For instance, I do it a lot with bench pressing, where basically I wouldn't start counting until my perceived difficulty starts climbing up. So let's say I do 2 reps at a certain weight and it starts me off at a 4. Then I do that 3rd rep, I go down a little. That 3rd rep's a bit tougher. 4th rep, I go down again. I'm at a 5. It's getting more and more difficult. And I go down. 6th rep, that's when it starts getting difficult. That's when it starts getting, sorry. The lighting's really challenging in the car. But like, yeah. So 4th rep, it's about a 4. As I do more reps, it starts climbing in difficulty. And so eventually, let's say I would start counting at that 6th rep in this example to 4. And then it just progressively gets harder and harder as I do more reps. Then the next time I'll do a set, maybe by the time I do my first 4 reps, I'm already at a 5. Or, no, I'll do it better. I do my first 4 reps, I'm already at 6. So then I start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I would stop. Personally, I like doing it that way, where it's because I know my point of failure. I know when I cannot do another rep, but I also know the point where I might not be able to get that 1 extra rep, but at the very least, I want to try to get that 1 extra rep. And those were cases where I would get 1 extra rep, and I'm like, nah, fuck it, I can do 1 more. Then I do that 1 more. Then usually I would just like, okay, no, I'm good now. I try not to do like more than 2 more. Then basically, I try not to push myself too hard. I do know my limits. I do know when I can't do another rep. But for the most part, I like doing that one more rep, extra 30 seconds in my jog, extra, like, just that little bit extra. Because I feel like that little bit extra is what, excuse me, leads me to hypertrophy. If I just do 10 sets, 3 sets of 10, that my first set of 10 might be here, my second set of 10 might end here, my third set of 10 might end here. But if I'm ending each one of my, there we go. So like first set of 10, really easy. Second set of 10, it's moderate. Third set of 10, it's starting getting towards challenging. But if I can end my first set of 10, like at least at a 4 or 5 or a 6, and then my second set of, well, I mean, not necessarily a 10, but like my first set, I end at a 4, 5, or 6. My second set, I would end it with the last rep being a 7 or an 8, and then my last rep, my last set, my last rep might be like an 8 or a 9. So like, that's what I prefer. I don't like doing very, very hard numbers of, okay, I'm only going to do 10 here, I'm only going to do 3 sets of 10, 2 sets of 12. Like, I don't like doing that. I much prefer doing it as like, okay, I'm starting to feel tired, let me do 4 more. One, I was like, oh, I did those 4, I can do 1 more beyond that 4th one. And then I would either attempt it, and I failed a lot of reps. I would say at least per workout session if I'm doing anaerobic instead of which I do less of. I do more aerobic exercise than anaerobic. If I'm doing that anaerobic exercise, I want to at least fail 1 rep during my during my entire workout session, because if I don't at least try to get higher to do 1 more rep, or maybe even 2 more reps, then I'm never going to improve, is the way I see it. So like, let's say, oh, I can do this weight. Well, I feel like I improve faster when I do that 1 more rep, and I gain more confidence in doing it and knowing what my actual limits are. And like, especially whenever I increase in weights, I typically would try to push out 1 more rep than I typically would. And that is a bit dangerous because I don't have a spotter, because I often work out alone, but I do know my limits. I try not to get injured often, as best as I can help it. But yeah, I rambled on long enough with this one. Yeah. Perceived difficulty, incredibly important for working out, especially when you're prescribing workouts, and especially for all levels of training.